जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम साद।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
जी वालेकुम सलाम। सॉरी बच्चों, आज आई गॉट लेट। मेरा लैपटॉप एंड टाइम पे पता नहीं कुछ शट डाउन हो गया था। चलिए जी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह। ओके चलिए जी, लेट मी शेयर माय स्क्रीन। चलिए जी बिस्मिल्लाह। आज इंशाल्लाह वी आर स्टार्टिंग with a new topic that is biodiversity and uh, classification and conservation. This topic is very interesting and very different, way better than the previous topic that we've done in terms of the boring content. Uh, I will quickly go through the content first, inshallah, and then I will let you know how what exactly is part of this topic. Inshallah, I will be taking, I think, maybe 5 lessons or maybe at the max 6. I think, inshallah, we are going to get rid of all of these topics along with the papers. As you can see on the screen, I have opened the syllabus, which is, and that's the 18th top unit according to your syllabus, and that's the second last topic. The syllabus, the Cambridge divides biodiversity into, actually the name, as you can see, the name of the topic is composed of 3 words: biodiversity, classification, and conservation. The first part, 18.1, has to do with biodiversity. Again, I will look into the details later, and we will be talking about 18.1 today. And then we have classification. How different species, animals, living things, they are categorized. Of course, back in O levels, you saw something really simple about this idea, but now this is the next level. But again, it's very easy, nothing difficult, nothing. It's easy to understand. I'm not sure if it's easy to memorize, but one thing is for sure, it's easy to understand. I mean, nothing, no rocket science about this. And then finally, you have the idea of conservation, which you had got a hint about this topic back in O levels when you were doing ecology, ecosystem knowledge topic, trophic levels, and all of that stuff. So the last part basically has to do with conservation of all of the variety of organisms that inshallah we are going to look at with some classical examples of some organizations. As you can see in point number G, WWF. I'm sure you've heard of this name before. Everybody knows what WWF is. The symbol of WWF is coupled with that typical picture of panda and all of that stuff. So inshallah, 18.3 and 18.2 is just stories of how things can be done, why zoos and all of these stuff should be made. So inshallah, this is going to be very easy, but the slight technical part is the first part. And when I'm saying it's technical, it never means it's difficult, but it's just that we need to make more sense of this. ठीक है जी? Okay. That being said, let me give you a bird's eye view of the 18.1. They came biodiversity, and this is what I'm going to start off with today. I was, before your lesson, I was going through different pictures that I really wanted to show you, because the more visual I get with this topic, the more fun it gets and the more easier it gets for you to retain. Otherwise, all what we will be talking about are definitions and all that stuff today. But generally speaking, I want you to look at the word biodiversity. Okay? The word bio, all of us know that is basically, it means something living, okay? And diversity, as it's obvious from the name, means variety. I mean, that's a very crude way I'm using to explain what biodiversity is. But of course, it's much more than this. But as an initial explanation, biodiversity is basically the variety, if you like, that you find in living organisms, okay? But again, that requires a slight explanation. So what I'm going to do is, I am going to begin with a picture, okay? A picture that gives us a framework for this particular topic. I'm sure you guys have seen this picture before. Now, if you look at this picture really carefully, this picture is basically taking us through a journey If you look at the bottom left side of the picture, we are starting from an atom, okay? And even now we know that we can go even further beyond the atom in terms of protons, neutrons, and electrons and whatnot. And I think even they've gone further down. But the point is, now as you move up from atoms, you move on to molecules. Of course, we don't need to go into details of what that looks like, but we've studied the biological, you've studied in AS biology, the second topic, which dealt with the idea of molecules. By the way, the reason I'm showing you this picture is just to contextualize, okay, what exactly are we going to talk about? I mean, this topic is not coming out of the blue. It's related to all what we've done so far. Okay? So, excuse me. So you've got molecules, and then of course you've got big molecules combining and making the organelles. Okay, and again in topic number 1 we've seen in detail, and even in E2 we've been seeing organelles in detail, like mitochondria in respiration, like chloroplast in photosynthesis, and so on and so forth. And then of course we move on to the cell, and then we know the tissue, then we know the organ, and then we know the system of organ. I mean, of course I don't need to go into examples of all of these cells. Aap sabko pata hai, there are different types of specialized cells. Like if I were to pick up one example, then a red blood cell, then the tissue is blood. The organ that's related with this particular idea is the heart, or the blood vessels, and so on and so forth. And then finally the circulatory system, and then a group of systems, they make up what is known as an organism. Okay. Now, all what I've said is something that we understand already. Now, this topic is basically going to talk about that the premise, if you like, or the starting point of this topic is going to be an organism. Okay, we're going to move ahead and we're going to see how the idea progresses from one organism and the idea of species into population, and then into ecosystem, and then eventually, of course, we're not going into details of biosphere here, but you can clearly see that so far in your syllabus, you have been dealing with till the level of organism itself. Now we are actually moving one step ahead, okay? And we're trying to see what sort of a variety, if you like, exists in the living world, and how do they interact? How do organisms, hum humans kis tarah act karte hain? I mean, how do we interact? I'm sure that's the worst way we usually do. Or if you really want to see an example of how frustrated we as a human race are, if you know how to drive, तो किसी ट्रैफिक वाली जगह पे जाके आप किसी को ओवरटेक ना करने दें, तो फिर वो आपको एक ऐसी घूरी मारेगा, you will be like, and you know, you will be surprised. I know of a case in Lahore. I know he's a family friend of mine. DHA में उसने he actually overtook a car, and guess what? When he overtook that guy in the car, उसने गाड़ी आगे आके रोकी और उसने गन निकाल के उसके forehead पे रख दी कि how dare you overtake. I'm not making up. I mean, people can get this crazy at times. But इस मामले में, I think the animals are much better. They are violent, but humans, if they get violent, nobody can cross their limits. Okay, and I hope you will agree. Anyhow, so that's the context, if you like, what we are going to talk about. So I'm going to begin with some definitions. If you look at the syllabus once again, the syllabus is also beginning with some definitions, okay? Like define the term species, ecosystem, and niche. Niche या niche, इसको आप जो भी कह लें, मुझे नहीं पता, कुछ लोग pronunciation के बारे में ज़रा काफ़ी sensitive होते हैं. आप niche कह लें, niche कह लें, एक ही बात है. ये niche क्या है? Niche is a new word. I know you haven't, we haven't talked about this. Neither have you talked about this in O levels. But all of the ideas that we are going to talk about so far are going to be an overlap on what you did in biology. And then inshallah, hum apne aage pe jaate hain. In today's class, what I'm going to do is we're going to do 18.1a, 18.1b, and then I am going to jump to F, because F is related to A and B. And inshallah, tomorrow we will do C, D, and E, inshallah, okay? Is everybody good with me so far? ज़्यादा इधर उधर की बात तो नहीं की मैंने, चले बहुत अच्छी बात है, that's wonderful. So let's begin. So finally, we are moving on to our second last topic. This is a, तो सारा कुछ ऑनलाइन हो गया, मुसीबत भूल जाता है कहाँ पे गया है. Where is A2? Oh, there it is. चलिए. So अब हम we will open the new section. This is 18, which is biodiversity, uh, classification and conservation. If you are not fond of taking a lot of notes, please be prepared to take some in this topic, because we are going to talk about a lot of technical stuff. And if you look at the past papers, you will often find the examiner being very, you know, definition. अक्सर पूछ लेता है इस topic में, so we need to be very vigilant when it comes to taking notes. So I'm going to jump right away with a picture, with some pictures, okay? And I want